Hello, I'm Maria Riegger, your resident Gemini, and this is Positive Parenting with Astrology. In this video, we're going over the major transits happening in August 2025. The transits are ushered in by the July 24th new moon in the sign of Leo. If you didn't catch my video on that new moon, you can go watch it now. That is a very powerful new moon with a lot of interesting transits that were happening around it, a lot of interesting connections. Uranus and Gemini was involved, Saturn and Neptune were involved, a lot of fire energy, as well as that Gemini energy. So go back and watch that video to get the full story. There's a lot happening this month of August. I don't know about you guys. I am ready for fall. Where I live, it is hot and humid. There's not a lot we can do during the day. It's just too hot. So anyway, I'm ready for fall, for apple picking, for haunted houses, for other things. Not ready for back to school because it brings a whole other level of planning and other things, stress, but definitely ready for fall. So during August, it's really important to maintain those heart-to-heart connections with your kids. In my video on the new moon in Leo, I emphasized how that energy supports our heart activation, our heart connection with ourselves and with our kids. It also supports finding new, fun, creative ways to connect with your kids, new activities, fun activities, encouraging your kids to pursue whatever creative endeavors that they may be interested in, maybe some new creative activities. But all in all, it's an energy that supports and compels us to lead with the heart, to really connect heart to heart with our kids, to see our kids as they are, not what we are projecting onto them, not how we may have wished it would be, but see our kids as they are. Because when kids feel seen and heard by parents, that is everything. That is almost the whole relationship right there. So it's important to remember that as we're going through the transits for August. Lead with the heart, stay connected, and ask yourself how you are giving and receiving love, how you are showing love to your kids. So after that new moon, the first big August transit I want to talk about is on August 6th, Mars shifts into the sign of Libra. Now, Mars rules Aries, right? That's where Aries sits normally. So Libra is the opposite sign to Aries. Mars is not very comfortable in an air sign. It is not very comfortable in the relationship-oriented sign of Libra, because Mars is about how we direct our energy, how we protect our own autonomy, kind of how we pursue our goals. It also informs how we behave in relationships, because how we pursue our goals within the relationship. Are we very individualistic? Are we supporting the relationship as a team? Because my belief is when you're in a relationship with someone, it's important to maintain your own individuality, but have consideration for the other person. So Libra compels us to have consideration for the other person. That's great. However, Libra, as I've explained in other videos about parenting Libra kids, Libra energy is so detached and so preoccupied with what the other person thinks, the other person in the relationship, that Libra often loses touch with what the Libra person wants, what is important to them, what values they want to protect, their autonomy, what they want. Often they suppress what they want for the benefit of the other person. So you can see how Mars is not super comfortable in that sign. Libra is also kind of an indecisive energy. It's that wishy-washy energy. It's represented symbolically by the scales. Remember the scales of balance. So Libra people always are seeking harmony and balance in the world in general and in one-to-one relationships. Now, Mercury is still in retrograde around August 6th. It doesn't go direct until the 11th. So it's still at that time when Mars shifts into Libra, it will still be more important than usual to watch your words and think carefully before you speak, right? Think carefully before you articulate ideas. Think about how your words may be affecting the other person in the communication, may be affecting your kids. Libra is also a sign that seeks to avoid conflict. The air signs in general tend to go around obstacles like air instead of confronting them head on. And that is Libra to a T. It is a conflict avoidant energy, but Mars compels us to tackle those conflicts address those conflicts directly, which is what we should be doing, addressing things directly, not in a passive aggressive or avoided way, but addressing things with sensitivity and consideration for the other person. So Mars in Libra is not a placement that, it's not a transit that supports direct communication, because Libra likes to go around obstacles and is conflict avoidant. So your kids may be avoiding direct communication with you if you tend to be overreactive and you're not watching your words. Something to watch out for and think about. So if your kids are reticent to share things with you, and or maybe they just don't want to talk directly about certain subjects, try to detach and figure out why that is. Why is your kid not feeling 100% comfortable approaching you about something or engaging with you on a topic? Look at your reaction and how you approach the topic and see if you can, approach that topic or talk to them about it in a different way, right? Maybe be less direct, maybe just hang out with them and create the space where they hopefully feel comfortable opening up to you. Be patient with them. Something I like to remember is just to say, hey, I understand you don't want to talk about that now. I am here if and when you would like to talk about it. I'm listening. And then leave them and go off and do something else. Because if you're hovering over them all the time, they're going to be less likely to open up and communicate. The next thing I want to point out, as I said, Mercury is still retrograde now and through August 11th. So watch your words, watch your communications. Mercury will be in Leo, in the sign of Leo, throughout that entire retrograde period. Leo is fixed fire, but it's still a fire sign. So watch your reactions. Make sure you're not overreacting and being overly emotionally reactive, and make sure you are emotionally regulated. This is a great time to practice that emotion labeling I talked about recently in a blog post. That idea that it is very important to identify, label, and articulate those emotions we're feeling. In fact, studies have indicated that adults who do that, adults who are able to distinguish and articulate the precise emotions that they are feeling, are 40% less likely to drink alcoholic drinks, are 40% less likely to be verbally and physically aggressive with the person who has kind of set them off or pushed their buttons. So those are important things to keep in mind, that it's not just about, understanding our emotions. The emotion labeling has healthy effects kind of in other areas, those tangential areas. And when we're able to do that, us parents, we can teach our kids to do that. When we can articulate and identify emotions with precision and more detail, we can do that for our kids, help our kids to do that, right? So that's a great thing to keep in mind as during Mercury retrograde, but also as Mercury goes direct. Because that Leo energy can be associated with really big emotions in kids. And that's fun. There's nothing wrong with a kid showing big emotions. It's developmentally normal for the most part. But us parents have a very important job of helping kids understand and manage the emotions, not repress, right? Also on August 11th, as Mercury goes direct, Saturn will be in sextile to Uranus. Ideally, this is hopefully going to be a period of progress and movement and forward momentum in those areas of our lives where we are putting forth effort. Our efforts should flow a little bit more easily. It may be a little easier to motivate ourselves to get things done instead of procrastinate. You may start to see hints regarding the progress of things you're working on, and that may serve to motivate you further and less likely to procrastinate on things. This is also a great reminder to praise your kids when you see them taking initiative. And by praise, I mean show gratitude. And as I said in my video on the new moon in Leo, give those positive affirmations to your kids. Positive affirmations about character and gratitude for the things they are doing. Taking initiative is a great thing to praise your kids for, because we hear all the time, teenagers are so lazy. Well, they're not lazy. There's a whole bunch of developmental reasons why they may appear to be lazy or procrastinating, right? But when you see your kids taking initiative, make sure to express gratitude and praise them for that. Whether they did chores, whether you asked them to or not, whether they did chores spontaneously or on your request, whether they made plans with friends, or whether they gave you some input, One thing I like to do is like when my kid makes plans for us or suggests an activity for us to do and we do it, I tell them, hey, thanks for thinking of this. This was a really cool thing to do. Praise the initiative. That's huge. So on August 22nd, the sun is going to move into Virgo. And it is no coincidence that that coincides with the return of back to school, right? At least where I live. So it is a great time to focus on the details, get things ready for the school year. Wonderful time to declutter the house and maybe rearrange things and reorganize furniture and other things in the house so that there is less clutter, so that it is easier for you and your kids to study and get things done. That visual clutter like clogs the mind. It's not just about cluttering our living spaces. It's about cluttering and clogging up the mind. That's definitely the case for me. The visual clutter just is completely overstimulating and overwhelming. And then we see things that distract us from the task we actually want to be accomplishing in that moment. So reorganizing, rearranging the home, your study space, maybe your kids can help you rearrange their study space so that it's less cluttered, so that they are more able to focus and concentrate on tasks. August is a great time to get ready to do that, especially that second half of August where the sun's shifting into Virgo before school officially starts. On August 25th, the planet Venus shifts into the sign of Leo. Venus is the planet that informs one-to-one relationships, how we show up in those relationships, how we deal with the give and take in those relationships. So it's a time when you're probably going to feel more protective of your kids than usual because it's got that big mama bear energy. Leo is also about demonstrating affection. Your kids may be a little bit more physically affectionate than usual. Older kids may seek out your company more frequently than usual. They may seek connection with you more frequently than usual. They just may need that, especially as school starts. Yeah, this is a really interesting thing to point out because this Venus and Leo transit will be happening right before and right as the next school year is starting. So it's typically a big time of transition, and maybe your kid's going into a new school or transitioning from elementary to middle school or middle school to high school. Those are big transitions and kids need a lot of support. But kids often, they won't necessarily come to parents and say, hey, I need support regarding this transition or I need this. The parent has to be observant and figure out what's happening and pay attention to your kid's behavior. That's a huge indicator that they may need additional support from you, whether they're clingy, whether they're seeking you out, for connection more frequently, whether they're more combative with you. That's an interesting dynamic. If your kids are kind of more annoyed with you, especially older kids, or more combative with you or more argumentative with you, that's a good indicator that you should take a step back and try to understand the behavior instead of having a knee-jerk reaction to, well, you're disrespecting me, or, well, why are you not doing what I tell you to do? It's a good time for you to reflect on the behavior and ask yourself, why are they acting this way? And then ask your kid, hey, what's going on? Like, you're being a little bit, your behavior is a little bit different, or I'm feeling a lot of friction, or I'm feeling a lot of tension. Is there something you want to talk about? That will get you a lot more information than, punishing them for being argumentative or something like that. It's a good thing to keep in mind, especially for older kids as they make the school transition. And I mean, let's face it, like going from the freedom of summer to the structure of school is not fun. It wasn't fun for me when I was a kid. It's not fun for them now. It's not fun for me as a parent. I have to get up earlier. I have to make sure schoolwork is done, other things. It's not fun for me either. But so my point is, remember that it's not easy for your kids, and try to have a little bit more compassion for them during that transition. And that Leo energy, it really supports that compassion. Again, that leading from the heart, that focus on connection before correction. And then the last big transit I want to address is on August 28th. Uranus will be in sextile to the planet Neptune. Now, Neptune and Saturn are forming kind of a conjunction at this time. So as we said, we talked a little bit earlier about Uranus sextiling Saturn. Uranus is also sextiling Neptune, which is a supportive transit. A sextile is a supportive transit, representative of the energies flowing a little bit more easily, not as much friction as like a square or maybe an opposition. But with that Uranus touching Neptune, you can expect sudden insights flashes of intuition. I talked about this in my video on the new moon in Leo, that Uranus or that Neptune is also associated with dreams. So you can expect possibly flashes of insight and intuition through dreams. It is an excellent idea, and I cannot recommend highly enough to keep a journal next to your bedside. And if you have a really vivid dream or a dream that just strikes you in some way or that you want to remember to maybe explore later, write it down. As soon as you wake up, write it down, because what happens, we forget a lot of the dreams we have, or we remember kind of the big picture of the dream. We don't remember the details of the dream. So it is an excellent idea to, as soon as you wake up, get that journal or even record on a voice note on your phone about the dream, because you can expect those flashes of intuition and insight to come via dreams. Dreams are also sometimes the body's and brain's way of processing trauma. We have a lot of different modalities in the trauma recovery, trauma healing space that kind of are offshoots of this. EMDR, that rapid eye movement processing technique, which I have done myself with a psychologist, it was very helpful. That is a way of processing trauma. Dreams are also the brain's way of processing trauma, because what happens is that the brain, one of the things it does when we're asleep is it kind of reorganizes data, and it files data away, including kind of time stamping memories. So it is somehow communicated in the brain that those memories are in the past, that we do not have to deal with them anymore. They are not active threats anymore. They're not active concerns anymore. So the brain does a lot of that kind of processing while we're in REM sleep. It is very important to make sure you are getting restful sleep during this time, so that your brain can be in REM sleep and you can your brain can process those memories and those dreams should it need to. Okay, very important. Also, since we're talking about processing and trauma, a great reminder that kids are not traumatized because they are hurt. Kids are traumatized because they are alone with the hurt, alone with the pain. That's one of the maxims from Gabor Mate I'm always talking about, right? So we cannot prevent our kids from experiencing any type of pain, physical, emotional. We cannot prevent our kids from experiencing any hardships or heartbreak even. We can be there so that they are not alone during those times. And that is part of our job, right? So I know that I have felt this way in the past. I was, very reluctant to allow my kid to experience any hardship or any harm at all, but that's really not our job. One of our jobs as a parent, is to support them and be there to help them process the hurt. Okay. So that's a great reminder for this transit. Ask your kids about any dreams they may be having. That may be a good clue into kind of what's going on with them, what they're thinking about. You can even share with them, I had the weirdest dream last night. And then you can share stuff about the dream with them that's appropriate for their age. So that may be a great way to kind of get a dialogue going. Well, I had weird dreams. Are you having weird dreams? Maybe it's just me. Because I often find that people who are very close in relationships have a lot of weird dreams around the same time, like almost like we're psychically linked or something, almost like we're one universal consciousness. So my point is to be open to talking with your kids about dreams. Really interesting conversation starter. And it may give you a window into kind of anything that may be bothering them or on their mind at a certain time. So I hope you enjoyed our video on transits in August 2025. I can't believe it's going to be August soon. We'll be back very soon. I have some content I'm working on that are at the request of some of you. So keep those requests coming. If you have any requests for content you would like to see, please leave a comment below and I will get to your video. All right, take care.